So the nice thing about this 1/2 inch drafting tape is that you can kind of bend it as you're sticking it down. I'm trying to see where the line is here. You can bend it and kind of curve.
Let's get right back to our guest, Kathleen Alexander, so we can learn about painting red flowers.
Hi, thank you.
You're very welcome. So tell us a little bit about you. We need to know something that nobody else knows.
Nobody else knows. You should have given me more time to think of that. I think everybody knows everything. Well, I live in Maui. I used to live in Northern California and on the coast, and it was very cold. So my husband and I decided we didn't want to live there anymore. So
Nice.
we love living here, and it's so inspiring. The art scene is fantastic. The just life is great here.
Sounds wonderful. I'm going to come visit.
Okay.
All right. You can tell me the best hotels to stay in. All right. So let's go ahead and get started on your demo, Kathleen.
Okay.
We're excited about that.
I'm going to switch to my camera.
Okay. So remind you that leave comments today. You can win the value specs, which help you see and learn values. All right. Now Kathleen's camera's up. Looks like you've already started something here.
Yes. So because it takes so many layers, I have 2 different paintings here to start with. I always start with the underpainting. And so with red flowers, the problem I had was the reds I had to choose from when I first started painting were cadmium red and alizarin crimson. And I felt like my flowers just looked flat, and I avoided painting anything with red because I didn't like how it came out. And also because I'm a studio painter and painted from photos, a lot of times when you take a photo of a red flower, it comes out just like one shade of red. So I learned to take my reference photos with side light, like early morning, late afternoon. So you can see I've got a good variety of colors to look at here. But I start my underpainting with perylene violet and dioxazine violet. And so this is kind of the structure of the shadow shapes that I see. And so here is the same painting a little farther along. And what I've discovered is that if I use a cool red, anthracnoid red, over the shadow side of the flower, and then switch to a warm red, and I think the one I'm using today is Pyrrole Scarlet from Daniel Smith.
Okay.
On the warm side of the flower, on the sunlit side, it gives you the dimension and the depth of the real flower. So
excellent. Will you tell everybody what kind of brushes and paper you're using?
Yes.
Because they will ask.
I use only Fabriano 300-pound cold press. I love this paper. The tooth is not so strong. It's almost a combination between a hot press and an Arches cold press. And then I got really spoiled using 300-pound paper, as I could have, later I was able to afford it. When I started, I used 140-pound paper, and I didn't like how it gets so wavy when you get the paper wet, and you don't have to stretch this. So that's all I use now.
Nice.
On my brushes, I use Escoda, Kolinsky, the Tamer Kolinsky sable brushes. And I also have 2 other brushes I like to use. The Cotman flat, 1/2-inch flat, for cleaning up edges. And then I use the Catalyst by Princeton Polytip Bristle. It's a short-handled round, and I use this for scrubbing edges when I want to soften things. I didn't like the brushes on the market that are for scrubbing edges, that they really lift the tooth of the paper up. And this Catalyst brush works great. It holds a lot of liquid in the bristles, and the bristles are all like splayed at the end, so it works great. So the next, I want to get the reds down because it's going to have to sit for a while, and then I'll switch over to the other painting so that by the end of the demo you can see the finished product a little bit on the reds. So I'm going to have I have 2 different brushes. Do you want to ask me anything, Eric, or am I doing okay? I'll keep going. So this is everywhere I'm a little nervous, so my hand's shaking. Everywhere that's a red in shadow, I'm going to put the anthracenoid red, which is my cool red. And I'm looking at my reference photo, and in here there are some areas that are like brighter, like they're in the sunlight, so I'll paint around those. A lot of them I put a little bit of masking fluid on, and some
You know, Kathleen, some people might not know what masking fluid is.
So masking fluid is it's a liquid rubber, and you put it on wet, and it keeps the paint from touching the paper in that area. So you can paint right over the top of it. And then once the paint is dry, well, the rubber dries, then you can paint on it, and then you peel it off later with like a rubber cement block or a drafting, what do you call it? A drafting eraser, kneaded eraser. So I'm just going around trying to put the anthracenoid red, and see on this little edge, I see it's more in sunlight. So I can let this paint run together. It won't hurt anything. I can move it. Oops, that's the wrong one. So I find that if I lay the brush down and pull, oh, my hand is so shaky. I'm so nervous. I'm a big fan.
There is no reason to be nervous. We're all just family here. We're all just trying to learn.
I'm just a huge fan of yours, Eric. I've been to 3 of your plein air conventions, and I just think it's one of my favorite things.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm a big fan of yours, so now we're equal.
And plus, it's only 7 o'clock here, and I got my time. I have a really hard time with the time difference between like Eastern time and Hawaii. You know, it gets a little confusing.
Oh, that must drive you nuts.
And so I got up at 4:30 this morning, thinking that I started at 6 for this.
Oh no.
So I've had a lot of coffee. So my hand's a little more shaky than usual.
That's all right. We'll just get shaky leaves. That's all.
So I'm looking at my reference photo, and where I see that the petal is a little brighter, I'm switching to the Pyrrole Scarlet. So when I put my underpainting down, I am looking at the value. So the places in the petals that have the darkest value, I'll add a little of the dioxazine or carbazole violet. Windsor violet is another name for that paint. But the perylene violet is the one that's more of a maroon color. So I'm just going through here with the anthracenoid red, because everything I'm working on right now is pretty much in the shadow area. I need to look out, because I see at the tips of some of these, there's some light patches that I'll switch to the Pyrrole Scarlet. But the nice thing about this anthracenoid red is that all this underpainting will glow through when it dries. It's a really beautiful, transparent red.
So you don't ever try to lighten your reds, because then you end up with pinks, right?
Yeah, and lightening it is, yeah, if you're trying to have a dark red, you don't add white, so you can't lighten it that way. So I do all of that with the underpainting. The values established with the underpainting mainly. And that was so this Pyrrole Scarlet is slightly opaque. And
it feels and looks very natural.
Yeah, it ends up, when it dries, looks so much better than I used to get with.
I don't want to make you nervous, but somebody just tuned in from Bangalore. Hello, Bangalore.
Wow.
We have a lot of people from India who tune in, especially when we have watercolorists on.
Yeah, I started painting watercolor when I was in high school. And
so you've only been doing it a couple of years.
Yeah, I think, huh?
So you said you had been to the plein air convention. Tell me
Mhm.
about that.
Well, so when we moved over here, I was still painting flowers in my studio and lots of different things, but watercolor in the studio. And I just felt like it was such a crime to be here and just staying in the house all day. So I decided to start painting oil. And then I found out about the plein air convention. So we were splitting our time between California and Maui at that, when I first went to one of your conventions, and I went to one of the ones in Monterey. I had some friends who live in Carmel, so I got to stay with them, and it was really fun and not quite as great as staying at the convention. So the next time I went with San Diego, and I stayed down. Of course, I stayed down there, and it was so much more fun to
Yeah,
be
because you get
there.
to sit up and talk shop with everybody at
Yeah,
night.
I felt like I met so many more people because I was staying there, and it was just like so much fun. And then I met somebody. I think my friend and I spoke to you at the San Francisco convention because we met each other. We lived in the same town in Maui, but we met each other in the sign up area at the San Diego convention.
And I remember that, but who was your friend?
Her name's Monica Loader.
Okay. We have another lady who comes to the plein air conventions from Maui as well. So,
Oh, I know a couple. Yeah, there's a couple of
yeah,
us. A
yeah.
few of us.
And you have a pretty active plein air group in Maui?
I have a group of friends. There is a group, but yeah, I do have a group of friends. And during the pandemic, we would go once a week, which was great because, it was outdoor, and we had the whole island to ourselves. It was kind of spooky. You go to a beach and you'd be the only people there. So,
Well, we had spring break booked to go to Maui in March or April or whatever it was in 2022, and of course Hawaii locked down, so we couldn't go. Everything locked down.
yeah.
Wow, that's really bright, pretty.
Yeah. So that's the pyro scarlet. So it's more of an orange red. So I'm
Hello,
looking.
Sweden. Hello, Netherlands. I'm sorry to the people in the U.S. I usually don't call out U.S. people, but I like it when people tune in from far, far away places. But I appreciate every one of you.
So I'm putting a little of this, what's this one? It's Holbein's Bright Rose. So up in the top petals where the sun is shining through, I see kind of a pink cast. So I'm switching over to this Bright Rose, and this is the Pyrrole Scarlet.
Is it hard to keep track of using a different brush for a different color?
No, well, sometimes I can see which color is in the ends of each brush because like the Pyrrole Scarlet, you can see it's kind of bright on the brush, and so is the Bright Rose, and the darkest one is my darkest red, so it's not that bad.
I'm afraid I started something here when I started calling out names. Now we have Norway, Langley, British Columbia, French Polynesia. Outstanding. It's nice to have a worldwide family of artists, people who love to learn to paint. Edmonton, Alberta. All right. Keep it up, guys. Is there a reference photo that we can see?
Yes, would you like to see it? Here it is.
Hold it still for a minute. All right. Well, I'll tell you, you're really nailing it.
Try to get some more of these white spaces covered.
Hello, Italy.
So you just mentioned French Polynesia, and my husband and I went there a few years ago. It was beautiful.
Sounds beautiful.
Our daughter was a flight attendant, so we flew from here. It was right after she got her job as a flight attendant, so we were really excited to take advantage of the flight benefits that parents get.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I
And
think I'll encourage my kids to go work for airlines.
yeah, it's amazing. But she quit when the pandemic happened. She has a almost 3-year-old now, so.
I had those benefits in another life, and we would just we would go to the airport and look up at the monitor and pick a city on the monitor and see if we could get on the flight. And we did that like every other weekend. We flew all over the world
Wow. Yeah, it's
for free.
amazing. Yeah, and your luggage is free.
Well, back then, everybody's luggage was free.
Oh.
That's how long ago it was. It was back in the 80s.
Yeah, it was great. We were spoiled. But there is something to be said for having a seat on the plane. It's like there's no anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was not a painter at the time, and man, I wish I had that now because I just love to travel and paint.
Okay, let's see what I have left here. So this one up here, I want to put a little of the rose up towards the top of the flower. The sun is coming all the way through, and that's where I see the little bit of rose. And I like this technique because I don't really have to wait for like one petal at a time to dry. A lot of, most of the time when I paint, I have to paint one petal and let it dry so that it doesn't bleed into the neighboring petal. But with this, it doesn't seem to make a difference. The reds.
Yeah, because you did that first part in advance. In case somebody tuned in late, the first part was already done.
Yeah, let me show you really quick. This is what it was like before I started putting reds down. So I start with an underpainting of perylene violet and dioxazine violet, or also it's called carbazole violet. And then I'm glazing over with a cool red, which is anthraquinoid red. That's everything pretty much on the left side of the flower. And then the warm red is pyrrole scarlet, and it's more of an orange, a warm orange red.
Okay. Well, we have Scotland, Bangalore, and Saskatchewan. Nice. Big audience today. And what's not live, once we go into replays, we've had days where we've hit 150,000 views.
Well, that's not going to make me nervous, Eric.
No, there's no reason to be nervous. You're doing a great job. I used to get nervous, but I don't anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah, all it took was taking my clothes off in front of an audience of 2,500 people. I did that one time on stage.
I'm only nervous because it's you.
Well, that's no reason to be nervous. The question Edith in Scotland is asking is, what lighting are you using in the studio?
I have, let's see. Let me see if I can turn it for you. I have these little daylight lamps. I used to have OT lights, but I don't have them. I just found some daylight lamps on Amazon. The ones I have are called Fujitech.
Can you hold it? Can you hold it a
Yeah.
little? You did it a little quickly.
Too fast.
Fujitech.
So here's the base, Fujitech.
Yeah.
It's got, it's an LED. I have one on each side. I really like them.
And they look like they're battery operated?
No, they're plugged in.
Are they?
Yeah, I don't think they have.
Well, anybody in the world can get them if they're on Amazon then.
Yeah. I'm living over here. Amazon Prime is such a blessing.
Oh yeah. And can you get next day delivery?
No, but it's pretty good. It used to be about a week, and now sometimes it's less than a week, which is a big deal. But we have regular stores. We have Target. There's a Whole Foods here.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, everything is expensive in Hawaii because everything has to be shipped over.
Yeah, it's I lived in California too, and gas is more expensive in California than it is here.
Yeah, because of tax.
Yeah. So I'm just moving around with my
Someone is asking, is it possible to keep the reference photo out so they can see that? Maybe you could put them where your brushes are and lower your brushes down or something. Oh, there you go. Something like that.
Sorry, it's shiny.
That's all right. That's okay. It helps. You guys ask, I deliver. What can I tell you?
So if you came in late, try to take your reference photos, especially with red flowers, because the camera doesn't seem to like photographing red things very much. Take your photos in the late afternoon or early morning so that you have good lighting on, like side lighting. You want to have a shadow side and a bright side. So I'm looking at it and I see some stuff I want to change. So I'm going to get my clear water brush.
What's a clear water brush?
It's just a brush with water.
So it's thicker.
No paint. No paint.
No paint.
So I'm gonna.
You're removing paint.
I'm taking a little away. I've been in such a hurry trying to get the paint down. I wasn't really looking at the painting and evaluating it as I have been going. So let's see.
Here's Gerda from The Hague in Netherlands. Welcome, Gerda.
Let's see here. I've got a big white space here. What is this one supposed to be? I think it's supposed to be that.
If you guys are enjoying this, please hit the like button and the share button. People love to discover how to paint. You know, there's a lot of people out there who have seen this show and decided to start painting. You can help them by letting them know about this show. We're here most weekdays, not all weekdays, at least 3 days a week, and we try to do more.
Okay, so I think I can let this dry for a bit. There may be a few places I missed, but
Yeah, it looks good.
I'll let this dry and then maybe I can take the masking fluid off before the
Okay.
end.
What kind of flower is that?
It's a ginger.
Ginger.
Yeah. If you squeeze the flower, it smells wonderful. But if you don't squeeze it, you wouldn't know. It's a really funny thing.
Huh. So that's the same kind of ginger we use with our sushi?
No, I think it's related, but it's not.
I see. Okay.
All right. I think I almost got everything. Let's see.
Reminder to you guys that today we're giving away a pair of value specs. Go into the comments section, tell us where you're from, and we will pick somebody at random to give away a pair of value specs. By the way, a great Christmas present. I made them bright red so I can find them in my bag. And well, I'll tell you, they really work. I still use them even though I've trained my brain. I still need them because sometimes my values are way off and I can't tell, especially some colors. You think they're bright, but they're not really.
Okay, I think I've got the flower covered enough.
Right. So okay, everybody thumbs up and applause. Yay. Okay, now you're going to work on the other one?
Yeah, just because I don't want to bump any of the paint, I'll show you some earlier steps.
Okay, great.
So, let me get some new brushes. All right, so I'll show you how I go about putting these shadow shapes in. So I have, let's see what the value is. That's okay. So this is Perylene Violet, and I'm gonna, oops. I guess it's about a 60% value.
So what is that card? It's got your name on it. What is that card you're using there?
So this is my card that I give to my students when they take my workshops. It's all the colors I normally use, and then I have a value scale down the side.
Nice, very good. And
So
are the rows listed, are the colors listed by value? In other words, the darker colors at the bottom?
no, I start with all the violets, pinks at the top, and then I've got reds, kind of reds, earth colors, oranges,
Okay. It,
yellows,
it would be
blues.
cool to try it where you did all of your dark values on the bottom line and then the next values up and so on. Good exercise.
Yeah. So what I usually have people do is put like, let me find this one, Paraline Violet. Put the paint full strength, like the darkest value I have, and then let me drag it across with clear water so you can see the value that way,
Ah,
each one.
great idea.
So, something I would like to tell people about painting in watercolor. I use the San Francisco Slant palette, or Richardson sells this palette. Let me show you because you can't see the whole thing. So this is the palette. I put my pure pigments in the little wells. I put about the amount of a size of a pea, and then I fill the well about 3/4 of the way with water and completely stir it up. So when I'm painting, I'm getting the same consistency of paint out of that well. And I want it to be as close to 100% of that paint's value, but still be a liquid.
So it's called a San Francisco
Slant.
slant. Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody put that in the comments, please. And
And
that's from Jack Richardson. And
yeah,
where do you buy them? You buy them online?
yeah, you can buy them anywhere. They're really everywhere. It's like the cheapest palette you can get. So you can buy so many. So what I do when I'm done painting for the day, I'll put a clean one on top or a dirty one. I'll put another one on top, and then it keeps the paint moist for the next day.
Oh, nice.
Or if I'm painting a big painting with a lot of different colors, I'll have 2 rows of pure pigments, and then you can kind of swap them around.
Yeah.
They're not great for traveling as far as like moving your paint because
Yeah.
it just washes out, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is.
Well, Kathleen, everyone watching wants art supplies for Christmas.
Oh, well, buy Escoda brushes. They're expensive, so if you can only get one at a time, just get one. But I would recommend these brushes too. They're the best for me. And then my Catalyst by Princeton brush for scrubbing.
Catalyst by Princeton. Okay.
Yeah, this is a size 8. 8's nice. I use 10s. Depends how big the area is I'm trying to scrub. I'll show you just quickly back to this painting. So when something like this edge right here, I want that to be back farther in the picture plane. So I'll take that Catalyst brush, get it wet, blot it on my towel, and just agitate back and forth along that edge. And the water in the brush gives the paint somewhere to flow to, and I end up with a nice softened.
Well, you're a good teacher, and you're going to be teaching on Beginner's Day on Watercolor Live, and that's very exciting.
I know, I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
So
You know, I mean, here you are on the same faculty with Alvaro Casanet. I mean, doesn't get any better than that.
I know, I had his book like 20 or more years ago.
Yeah, well, he's even better now.
We're all better now.
Were you there when we had him on stage at the Plein Air convention?
I don't think I was there at that one.
He did this giant cityscape, and everybody was mesmerized. Even the oil painters. We had him on the main stage because he's such a giant, and and then I think we put it in the store, and it sold for like $40,000
Oh
or
my
something.
gosh.
It was just unbelievably incredible. Guy is amazing. It's going to be fun to watch him on Watercolor Live.
I was at the convention when Joseph Zbovnik.
Oh yeah,
was there.
that was San Francisco.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's amazing.
I think we got into San Francisco at the right time. It was just starting to deteriorate.
Yeah, we still had a great time.
Yeah,
and
it was. Really
I grew up like 15 minutes from there. So
where did you grow up?
and Pacifica, which is
Oh,
just south.
nice. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Beautiful but cold.
Small
Foggy.
town. There's a
So,
photographer there by the name of
Stephen Johnson?
Stephen Johnson, who
I
studied
know
under
them.
Ansel
I know
Adams. Wow, I've been to his house.
Oh, I took his class on printmaking, so like to learn to do my own digital prints for my
Nice.
watercolors.
Yeah,
He's great.
he's
What
a
a
brilliant
resource
guy.
to be in the same town as him.
Yeah. It is cold over there, though.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love the Bay Area.
Can I keep going, or are we out of time?
Please, yeah, please go ahead. We've got plenty of time.
Okay, good. So this is not quite dry enough here. Let's see. I think I will go back to the one that's dry. So I didn't show how I do the shadowing. So this is the Pearline Violet. So I'm gonna look back at my reference photo. And so what I'm looking for in the reference photo are the shadow shapes. So years ago, I took a workshop from Jan Koons, and she showed how to paint like faces by painting in the shadow shapes. So I took that idea and applied it to flowers because that's what I was interested in painting. So here's Pearline Violet, and then I'm going to switch to my clear water brush and just drag it out because it makes it look a little more realistic if it's not one straight value all the way
Yep.
across.
Hello to Panama. Wow, that's a place I need to go. I've never been. There are a lot of people who watch, but they're too shy to put themselves in the comments, and they're missing out on prizes that they could be winning. If you're not shy, go ahead and tell us where you're watching from.
So I've got to figure out where the shapes are that I see, the shadow shapes. So, because the shadow shapes will define the petal, and that'll be what shines through when I put the red on.
So it's got to be tempting, though, to want to add the red at the same time.
No, it's like this delayed gratification thing as a watercolor painter, I think.
You're very patient.
You have to learn to be patient.
I think watercolor painters have to be smarter than the rest of us because they have to think 30 steps in advance. You know, you got to leave your whites white. And
Yeah.
Here's someone from Mumbai, India. Welcome.
Yeah, I really love painting with watercolor. I feel like it's, I don't know, the paint and the water do so much of the work for you. I've been trying to learn to be an oil painter, and the paint just sits there. And when it looks terrible, it's all your fault because.
Well, you will get to the point where you'll be able to accomplish the same thing. You know, you get some soupy
how many years
soupy underpaintings with Gamsol or something.
It's just, you know, you want to be good right away, and it just isn't. That's not the way it works. You have to practice.
Well, if you want to learn oil painting, Deborah Hughes has this incredible new video out. Deborah's on the comments section right now, so I have to give her a plug anyway. And she can teach you how to do oil painting. Teach anybody.
Yeah, I saw her demonstrate in San Diego. She's fantastic.
Yeah, well, she lives in San Diego or in that area. I think it's that area. I may be wrong. I'm wrong more times than I'm right.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's true.
So I'm just, you know, working my way around, looking for the shadows. And then I think I've got most of them here. So
Le Havre City, France. Hello, Le Havre. I'm probably saying it wrong.
Oh, so one thing I do for my leaves, let me find the tape. I use 1/2 inch drafting tape. So when I've got really, really straight lines, like these, the vein down the center of this leaf, for instance, it might
Yeah.
be hard to see the tape because,
We can see it. Yeah.
okay, good.
Now we can't. Now that you flattened it.
Yeah, it's hard to see. The tape's the exact same color as this paper. So the nice thing about this 1/2 inch drafting tape is that you can kind of bend it as you're sticking it down. I'm trying to see where the line is here. You can bend it and kind of curve. So, oops. Okay. So I'm going to show you one of these veins. So I've mixed up some not sap green, green gold and indigo.
Where do you get drafting tape?
Amazon.
Oh, of course.
I'm in Hawaii.
Oh,
Everything's
that's right.
Amazon.
Can't go to the local drafting supply.
No. Okay, so there I painted this vein down this leaf.
Wow.
And so you get really nice, precise lines. So now there's like a puddle down this whole thing, so I have to let it dry, but I make use of drafting tape a lot. There's a lot of plants in Hawaii that like these gingers and different things that have a lot of really straight stalks. So I use a lot of drafting tape. I can see another. So this time I'm going to paint the leaf, and like the drafting tape will be covering that vein because I'm doing the negative space, or like the vein is the negative space. So I'm trying to cover over it. And okay, so I'm going to switch to Prussian green.
You've got me inspired. I'm going to get my watercolors out tonight. After work, I work for a really mean and nasty boss. He makes me work all day, but at night I can paint.
So here's Prussian green, and I'm just going to take my clear water brush and soften and let the paint blend together. Because I'm working on this like veining and shadow shape in this leaf right here.
Yep. Hello, Poland. Gdynia.
Oh, it's really much more helpful. It's really important to paint the surroundings around the red flower, like the greens, before you paint the red, because the red seems to sit out on the surface of the paper a lot more. And then if you were to come up against it with like this light wash, the red could flow over there. So I usually try to paint the greenery and then do the flower.
Okay. Kenneth is asking, have you ever used Frisket for masking?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know what Frisket is.
That's the masking fluid. So I used masking fluid. Actually, I didn't put the masking fluid on until after I did the underpainting yesterday. But so I put masking fluid on here. I painted over it. I put it over everything that I wanted to keep white in the flower. So there's a lot of little highlights at the ends of the petals. So let me see if I can pull it off. I think it's dry enough. Yeah. So see right here, there's some. So there's where I had it.
Oh, yeah.
My little highlight edges.
Oh, you do have to think advance.
Brisket and masking fluid are the same.
Hello, Ireland. Welcome. We have a big plein air festival in Ireland coming up.
Wow.
I've been invited.
I'm embarrassed to say I've never even been to Europe yet.
Well, we'll make that happen one of these days.
No.
I think we should hold a plein air convention in Europe, and all of us can go over.
Okay.
Have a good excuse. Tax deductible.
Sounds good. Yeah, my husband and I had a used oil hauling business, and I was the office, and we had a couple employees, and the only place we could go away for a vacation was Hawaii because it was not that far.
Yeah.
We could never get away long enough to go to Europe.
Yeah. Well, especially living in California, if you
Right.
live in the East Coast, you can get to Europe in 6 hours.
Right. Okay, so here's, like, you can see the start of the underpainting for that leaf. So I have a little suggestion of veins. And I'm going to take my clear water brush, and I can, if I brush the clear water between the darker areas, it'll push the pigment towards the middle, and it'll make that vein shape a little more defined.
Well, I may not be able to do a convention in Europe, but I'll do a publisher's invitational where we gather a couple hundred artists together. You guys should put in the comments where we should go. I see Scotland has already been mentioned. Well, Kathleen, you're doing an awesome job. Thank you so much for this. Everybody's
Thank
loving
you.
it. I'd like to
So
go to Ireland, but I don't know if there's enough green paint in the world. Just saying.
you need a lot here in Maui too.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very green. So how much more time do we have?
Oh, let's take it another 5 and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Not 5 hours.
I Okay, I think this is dry enough to do a little more. I see I missed a whole petal over here. Let's see. I'm going to take this masking fluid off. This is with a kneaded eraser. I have a rubber cement pickup block somewhere, but I didn't put it over by my work area.
Tuscany. That's a good idea.
Oop.
Somebody mentioned Tuscany. I went over to speak for the opening of the Florence Academy. And for the first time in my life, I had 3 or 4 full days where I didn't have anything to do. And I didn't have the family with me, and I didn't have to work. And so I went painting by myself in Tuscany every day for 4 days. It was to die for.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
All right, let's see. I'm going to put some paint in this leaf.
All right.
So I'm going to use green gold. So I kind of have a leaf formula that works for me. I use like Prussian green, indigo, maybe phthalo blue, depending on how light the veining is. And then I glaze over with like sap green or green gold. And it seems to be like a really good leaf combination for just about every kind of plant I paint.
What a great idea. Yeah. Oh, wow. It really makes it come together.
I'm gonna turn it so I can get into the tight spots here. So I've been trying to keep it
Tricky
vertical.
not to let that bleed in.
Yeah, now it's this is why I usually paint the green first and then do the red, but
Yeah.
I'll try to be careful.
Yeah. You're nailing it.
And there's another leaf over here. I'm not sure. I've got to look back at the reference photo.
So that's green gold.
Yeah, green gold. And then I did dip into a mixture of green gold and indigo. The indigo I'm using is Winsor Newton's indigo, and it's a much more jewel toned indigo. I also use Daniel Smith's indigo, but it's a more black pigment and it doesn't mix as pretty. It works well if you want something really dark, but not.
That's why you got to buy them and try them. You just because they all have the same name. I have a lot of different colors that I use that have the same name. I buy every brand I can and experiment with them.
Yeah,
so I
there's huge difference.
Find the ones that I love.
Years ago, I won the entire set of Daniel Smith paints, watercolor paints.
Lucky you.
Oh, it was amazing because I never would have had the opportunity to try Like, that's how I know about all these reds. I had all these paints that I hadn't even considered buying, and it gave me the opportunity to find out what I liked and what I could do with them. It made a big difference in my painting.
We need to get Daniel Smith as a sponsor for Watercolor Live. They're missing out.
Yeah, their paints are great. I'm surprised they're not going to. Okay,
Well,
let's see. I've got
you guys
this.
will have to put them under pressure.
So this,
Somebody said, we would love to hear your favorite brands, Eric. This is how I lose advertisers. When I tell you my favorite brand.
yeah,
I really do. I don't mean to be political about this, but I do use a little bit of everything. You know, I've got in my oils, I've got a little bit of Gamblin, a little bit of Winsor Newton, a little bit of Williamsburg, a little bit of Rembrandt, Michael Harding, this Richardson. I've been using his paint lately. I've just got a lot of different ones, and they're, you know, everyone has its own special quality. You just have to find the one colors that work for you. You know, I keep changing my palette about every 2 years, and just changed it.
yeah. I think people get stuck using the same paints they started with without really thinking about whether they like them or not, or just becomes a habit, and you have to reevaluate your palette.
Yeah, I do recommend not changing it too frequently because you have to learn how everything mixes together. And, you know, every time you add a new color, it changes the dynamic.
But if you have a color you haven't used in so many years, you probably don't need that color.
Yeah, I was thinking about having a sale at my studio, just say, look, I've got 200 tubes of paint I never use.
Yeah, I know that I have a friend over here that does that from time to time. Every time she has open studios, she goes through and weeds through her paints, and everybody in the area just like flocks to her house to see what she's giving up.
Well, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
How about you come back on camera, and everybody, round of applause, thumbs up for Kathleen Alexander. Nice job. Did a terrific job.
Thank you.
So can you give us a sneak idea of what you might be doing on Watercolor Live?
I'm going to do a plumeria flower, just a single one, and there's a lot of layering, just like this. There's always an underpainting of the shadows, and then the local color goes on top. So.
Awesome. So we have put your website and your contact information. They can go there for your workshops and things. We've put that in the comments section, and we're looking forward to you being on Watercolor Live in January. It's going to be exciting. We've got we think we could hit somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 people viewing. So it's
Wow.
pretty remarkable. We're already doing really well, and we never know until the last minute what we're going to hit, but we're aiming big because we want to change the world, get more people painting. And what a great way to do it. You know, 5 days or 4 days of painting, beginner's day, and 3 days. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
All right. We love having you here, and we'll have you back. And you did great. No reason to be nervous, Kathleen, because you were awesome.
Starstruck.